And here we are. I'm John Manuel from my comfortable domicile here in Cary, North Carolina. Thank goodness I'm inside. It's 100 degrees outside. Just got in from the Tournament of Stars here in Cary at USA Baseball's complex. I'm joined by Aaron Fitt, who's live back home in Omaha. Aaron, usually that's where the action is, but we were both at we've both been to baseball games at ballparks that play big. USA Baseball's main complex is known as a large yard. And as you wrote, I thought very well last night, Aaron, the main characteristic of the 2014 College World Series so far has not been close games or the fact there's been a lot of great pitching as there was last night in the 15-inning Virginia TCU game. The ballpark and the bats are what people are talking about, and it's just a shame. I thought that you wrote it very well. Could you try to maybe just kind of sum up the feelings of the coaches, the 8 coaches, the teams who took their teams to the College World Series, and other coaches that have been their opinions that have been filtering into you, just on the fact that the College World Series should be college baseball's biggest event, and it doesn't feel like it is?
That's right, and I thought Jim Schlossnagle said it well last night, and I want to clarify that it didn't come across as sour grapes last night, because there's a knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people, I think, to say, oh, well, this guy lost and he's whining about the ballpark and the bats. Well, that's not how it was. First of all, Jim Schlossnagle, like a lot of other coaches, has expressed concerns about this for a long time, and win or lose, Brian O'Connor was just as frustrated, and he won the game. And he didn't say it quite as publicly in the press conference, but a lot of coaches are very distraught by the direction that the game has gone. And the product in Omaha is not the best we can do. And I love the point that Brett Strelo made on Twitter today. Hey, I love a low-scoring game as long as there's a threat of a normal scoring game. And when 6-4 is a slugfest, something's wrong. That we've had 2 games in the last 2 years here where the 2 teams combined for double-digit runs. That's it. We've had no home runs in 8 games. We had the one ball get over the fence yesterday on a ground rule double, and it was exciting. Hooray! A ball got over the fence. I hate to harp on this too, John. We don't want to be negative Nellies here, but we care about college baseball. We want the best for college baseball, and right now the game is so far out of balance that there's just not that many people happy about it. And there are some people who are defensive about it, and some people who think that we're all just a bunch of crybabies. Well, so be it. The fact is we need to keep on talking about this, unfortunately, until they fix it. And I don't think lowering the seams is going to fix it. They need to do more than that. They're not going to do more than that until they see what effect the lowered seams have. But right now, the game last night did feature a lot of great arms. But it's hard to differentiate between great arms and average arms throwing meatballs down the middle because you get the same result. And we shouldn't reward mediocre pitching. We should reward great pitching, like we saw last night. Those guys missed a lot of bats last night. That was great, because it wasn't just flyouts and groundouts. It was something unusual. And the other fact, and I'm rambling here, but the other thing that drives me crazy is it's not just a lack of home runs. That's an oversimplification. Because of the way this park faces, you can play your outfield so shallow that balls that should be singles become outs, and balls that should be doubles get caught up in the wind, and the little parachute deploys, and they hang up there, and they get caught, and it's just lousy.
Well, that's it, Aaron. You have to go to. You've been to every game at that ballpark, correct? Every College World Series game.
Right.
So your sample size might be smaller than, say, Rob Anderson with Creighton, or people who go to Creighton baseball games. I've heard from some of them. But Creighton had 11 home runs hit at the ballpark this year, 5 of them by one player. The caliber of pitching at Creighton sees in the Big East, not quite as good as what we're seeing in the College World Series. Not what we're going to see. Josh Prevost didn't pitch every game in the Big East, much to my chagrin, because I like Josh Prevost. Did I get his first name right this time?
You did.
Awesome. But the games, there's no variety. And the fact there's not a threat of the long ball, that is not how baseball became popular. Baseball was a popular sport before Babe Ruth, but it got better after Babe Ruth. Chicks aren't the only ones that dig the long ball. I dig the long ball. People like home runs. There's nothing wrong with home runs. And college baseball certainly was at one extreme before. But, it had found some balance. It's been a long time since 1998. And between 1999 and 2010, college baseball grew rapidly in popularity for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason in my mind was expansion to 64 teams. Second, and having campus ballparks for the first round of the, going from 8 regionals to 16 regionals and 2 weeks of playoffs instead of 1. And we see even the last 2 weeks, when you're on campus ballparks that are generally smaller and don't have the wind blowing in, and there's a chance of a home run, even in this reduced offensive environment, which I don't find myself as pleasing, you can have exciting baseball and good baseball. And the first 2 rounds of the postseason with all these teams showed that. Now, you still had some clunkers, because I'm sorry, the Super Regional at Texas Tech and College of Charleston, back-to-back 1-0 games, it wasn't because Koufax and Drysdale were pitching. It wasn't Glavine and Maddox. It was just okay college pitching, rewarding, like what you talked about, guys who are good, making guys who are good look like they're unhittable. So that's not great for the game. But to me, the sameness, I don't mind bunts. I mind automatic bunts. Leadoff man gets on, it's automatic. And we saw it last night. It worked, but Nate Irving crushes one to left field for a double. Brandon Cogswell was, 3 for 4 to that point? 3 for 5?
Yeah, and he hit 2 balls hard, 2 doubles. So
he had squared the ball up. But it's an automatic. You have to bunt in that situation as a coach in your own mind. And then when Panero, I always want to call him Panero because of the bread. I like the bagels. When Panero lost that sac fly to center field, Aaron, I was shocked. I thought you don't want the ball in the air. You're going to have to really drive the ball to make it deep enough for a sac fly. But to his credit, he really did. But, of course, they tried to squeeze before that.
Yeah.
Certainly, Aaron, they tried to play it Gillespie style.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a sameness to it that is the frustrating part. So let's not just be negative. Okay, they're changing the balls. I think you'll agree with me. They're probably not going to change the bats, correct? The BB cores are the BB cores. Maybe we'll get better BB cores, but that doesn't seem too likely, does it?
We're stuck with the bats because they used player safety as the reason for making that change, and so now they can't go back on it. And personally, it's crying over spilled milk. But in 2010, when they banned the composite barrels, I thought we had pretty good balance. That the College World Series home run total dropped from 45 in 2009 to 32 in 2010 with no composite barrels. We still had some power, and even I think 2004, 05, 06, 07, before the composite barrels took off, yep. We had balance. We had 17, 20, 22 home runs in the College World Series. It's a decent number. It's not exceptionally high. So I mean, it is possible to have balance. At least it was in the old days. With these bats, though, TCU to me is another good example. It's a team that plays in a pitcher's park. It plays rather like TD Ameritrade. The wind tends to blow in.
They hit 12 home runs all year. They hit 12.
And they hit 101 their last time they went to the College World Series in 2010 with the scaled down bats, not the composite barrels. They hit 101 home runs on that team that went to Omaha, and now they have 12.
They hit 101 home runs that year?
They did.
Oh, wow. I mean, Kevin Crone, the players, you always hear scouts say this, and coaches say this actually more than scouts. The players will tell you. And Kevin Crone tried to tell us last night, he told us he hit 2 balls on the nose. And they both died in left field. I mean, he crushed the ball. He's one of the few guys that don't play Little League depth in the outfield. Right. The outfield stuff is disgusting. That's where the game is taking a turn for the joke as opposed to, it's just not very offensive. Okay, so I want to get back on. So what can change for the better? Because I don't see wood bats happening. I don't think we see that happening. Right? There's the metal bats, and the manufacturers who make them are quite entrenched in college baseball. They've invested a lot of money in college baseball over the years, and they don't intend to see that investment go away. Correct? We agree on that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We're going to have metal bats and we're going to have BB core bats.
Okay, so what else do you think can change to help the College World Series come back a little bit more into balance? I mean, because we can't control the wind, obviously, not yet anyway. Do you see, is it possible they would move the fences in? Because they certainly seems like they should.
Maybe they can build the 80-foot brick wall all around while we run the outfield behind the stands to block the wind. I don't know. I would love to see them move the fences in. They seem like they've dug in their heels and are not going to do that. Maybe after they lower the seams, maybe they can look again. Just depending on what kind of impact it had. Maybe they can look again at changing the core. Going to the minor league ball altogether, not just going to the minor league seams. Maybe that could help too, but I don't know. I mean, it feels like we're in this hopeless spot right now. I mean, it just feels like.
Can I ask you why you say they've dug in their heels? That's the NCAA, and why do they say they won't move in the walls? Because just for a big league example, watch a game at Comerica Park, and you'll see they've moved the fences in because when Comerica first opened, it was called Comerica Great National Park. It was a joke. You could not hit a home run out there. And they moved the fences in, and that's after they invested a lot more money than the city of Omaha did and the NCAA did. So what is the reticence with moving in the stands, the outfield walls? Because as Steve Pivovar and I discussed on Twitter yesterday, the dimensions of Rosenblatt changed. When I first got there, it was either 360 or 365 to the power alleys, and then it went back to whatever it is now, 375 or 380. So those were not. This is a Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park we're talking about here. If it were Fenway Park, they would have renovated the old park and not torn it the heck down.
Right.
So if it's so special, they should have kept the old park. But that ship sailed. I'll stop being bitter one day, not today. but there's no need to keep those old dimensions. Why are those dimensions so special?
I think it is a money issue. I just think that they balk at the prospect of having to redo all that stuff. I mean, that's the only explanation I can come up with. But you said something I want to touch on. You used the word joke, and I kind of alluded to this last night. I mean, they built this beautiful $131 million ballpark, and it is a joke in the literal sense. You get up there, and all the players are laughing and shaking their heads and looking skyward because it's impossible to do anything at that ballpark. It's a $131 million punchline, and the joke is on us, and the joke is on the hitters, and I've had it. I think I had it last year. We had a hangout, and I had the same rant, but man, oh man, enough is enough.
It's worse this year, Aaron, because these are good teams. These are exciting teams. Vanderbilt's an exciting team. Virginia's an exciting team. Virginia has power in that lineup. TCU has power. They squared some balls up yesterday, Crone especially, and they're good players who deserve to compete for a national championship. I think it was a college coach. It was Tony Skoll on Twitter responding to a tweet of someone's. It might have been a Kendall Rogers tweet where he said this would be like going to the Final Four and making the three-point shot 40 feet. That's what it's like. You take a fundamental part of the game out of the game. So it's the things so they're not going to change the bats. They're changing the balls. They really need to move in the walls. Is there anything else really they can even do to bring offense back in the game? Because it feels like the talent level is not going to go up. We thought the new draft rules were going to be good for college baseball. I got to be honest with you. I think players just want to sign, and they'll sign for less. And you see more and more players sign for underslot deals. I don't think the talent level in college baseball is going to get appreciably better in the near term. I think that's a small reason why. That's part of the reason. It's not just the bats. It's not just the ballpark. I think the talent level in college baseball ebbs and flows, and right now it's at a lower level because the 2010, 2011 drafts, baseball, the major league teams signed everybody they could.
That could be, and I think also it's worth noting that I don't think the quality of pitching is any better or worse here than it's ever been. People say, well, give the pitchers credit. Maybe that's what all this is. It's just great pitching. You guys are diminishing the great pitching. Well, there's always been talented pitchers in Omaha, and they didn't always, have one cumulative ERAs. I mean, it's just that's the difference here. The pitching hasn't changed. It's the other stuff that has changed.
And Mark Pryor, I always remember 2000. Mark Pryor's 2 trips to Omaha. In 2000, he was good, not yet great. He got hammered by LSU. Brad Hopp hit a grand slam off of them, off a changeup that John Savage called. That Mark Pryor and John Savage were screaming at each other when Savage came to the mound to take him out. It was pretty awesome. It's one of my all-time favorite memories because Pryor and Savage still argue about that pitch 14 years later. But then the next year, he was Mark Pryor. He was quote-unquote best college pitcher ever. And he still got the Omaha. He gave up 5 runs. Jeff Keppinger, who was a future big leaguer, hit a home run off him for Georgia. So, and then, it was always the top pitchers. It seemed like top pitchers went there and got hammered every year, whether it was Ben McDonald or Chris Benson or whoever. There are many, many more that I'm forgetting. But now, it's the other way. So I wish that something could change. Let's change the subject if we can. So I'm going to paraphrase Donald Rumsfeld. We've gone to the College World Series with the ballpark we have, not the ballpark we want, not the bats we have, not the bats we want. So 6 teams left. Vanderbilt and Virginia in the driver's seat. Which teams of the other 4 that are 1-1 are most likely to come out of the losers bracket? We have Texas and UC Irvine redux today, correct? That's today's
right.
Game.
Yep.
And then the other side will have Ole Miss, TCU. Let's concentrate on UC Irvine, Texas, Bunfest 2004 Part 2. Which septuagenarian coach is coming out of that one today, Aaron? It feels like Texas, even though their pitching depth is obviously negatively affected by the lack of Dylan Peters, feels like Texas is still in better shape because Irvine tried Ben Moore the other day, their closer. He couldn't get through an inning. They've moved Brock to the bullpen. He's been good out of the bullpen, but he was their number 3 starter. Just feels like Texas is in a little bit better shape on the mound than UC Irvine.
I feel the same way. Irvine is they're just thin on the mound, and I don't know what their best option is today. I mean, I don't know if they've announced their starter. I probably should have looked for that information. Wouldn't surprise me if they bring back Morales on short rest because what other options do they have? They've used Brock out of the bullpen. Maybe they could start him today. I don't know, but there's just not, for me, there's just not enough horsepower there on the mound. They needed to stay in the winner's bracket to have a chance, I thought, and because if they could have won the other day, then they'd have 3 days off, and they could have brought back Morales on almost full rest on Friday. But instead, running through losers bracket, I just don't see it. I think Texas has so much more pitching. I like the vibe I've gotten from Texas here. That even when they lost the game, they seemed confident and they seemed comfortable that they were going to rebound, and they did. And I think to me, this is where Irvine's run ends. And Jim Schonert, I'll make his pick here in the Hangout as well. He also is taking Texas today.
I'm also picking the Longhorns. I think Texas might have enough to give Vanderbilt a scare. But I think Vanderbilt is clearly the class of that side of the bracket. Do you agree, or do you?
Yeah.
I'm not diminishing Texas, but it feels like Vanderbilt has the, like you wrote the other day, they have the 14th overall pick in the draft, have a brutal day as he has been wont to do every other start. It feels like, and now they just plug in Walker Buehler and just cruise. I mean, he was fantastic, and he's their 4th starter.
And now they can save Fulmer for Friday and have him go on 5 days rest. Just sets up really well for Vanderbilt. And they still have still have Ferguson, who hasn't thrown yet. Hayden Stone, I don't think has thrown yet.
He threw 1 inning, but they could do it in the first game. But Aaron, they could even play with it and go with Ferguson if they wanted to, and put Fulmer back in their bullpen and have twin bullpens. This day you have Stone and Fulmer, and the next day you have Miller and Beatty if you want to put him in the bullpen. They have so many options, so many ways they can play it because of their depth.
Or they could, like you said, start Ferguson and hope they win that game and then save Ferguson for the opener of the finals. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. They've got a lot of options. I do think Texas has a chance because they'll be able to bring back
Thornhill.
Thank you, Thornhill on Friday. So, if they win today, then they certainly are capable of giving Vanderbilt a run. You're right, but I see Vanderbilt taking care of business. I think they're the most complete team on that side of the bracket. They're playing well offensively. That's a team that has generated a little bit of scoring. relatively speaking, and
And the
it's
best looking hitter out there, Aaron, has been Dansby Swanson. I'm sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you, but I mean, he's the best position player there. I said it before the series. People were talking about potential first round picks for next year. I love Riley Farrell. He's obviously awesome, but he is a college reliever. I don't see how he's that different. Maybe a little cleaner than Nick Birdie, but he doesn't throw harder. I mean, is he better than Nick Birdie? And Nick Birdie was a second round pick. If you're talking about future 2015 first rounders, I'm putting Dansby Swanson on there, especially if he moves to shortstop next year.
I love Dansby Swanson. Love his game. Love his makeup. Love his hitting ability and his defense. All of it. I think Farrell can have a chance to start next year. That to me is the difference between him and Birdie.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to do with him next year. He's been so good in the bullpen. Maybe they'll leave him there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they move him into the rotation.
Then on the other side of the bracket, the games that were played yesterday and last night. Obviously, Texas Tech eliminated. So Ole Miss, a team that hit 306, I think, during the year, 302, something like that, and they're hitting like 150 in Omaha so far, 105, something like that. The Rebels, or are they the Bears now? Which is their official name? I think they're the Bears. Did they change their name? They have a black bear logo. That's mascot. That's what it is. They changed their mascot. They changed their mascot, not their name. I'm sorry. I knew they were they aren't the Admiral Akbar mascot. It's the bear. They have a bear for a mascot now. Not the old country gentleman, the Southern gentleman. You didn't know that? You didn't know they have a bear as their mascot?
I missed that. I guess I missed that. Sorry, Ole Miss fans.
Well, I may have just completely screwed it up. I'm sure I'll hear about it on Twitter if I did. At John Manuel BA. Keep Aaron out of it. But on the other side, Ole Miss against a TCU team, Aaron, that just lost a heartbreaker last night. Can TCU come back from that? It feels like TCU and Virginia, they feel like they're very even teams, not just last night's game, but they're very even teams. What does TCU have left in the tank for that game that will be on Thursday? Would they bring Preston Morrison back on 3 days rest, you think, in that game? Or
No.
Which direction would they go?
I don't think they need to, and that's the thing. People on Twitter, Rebel fans last night were asking me, "Oh, this has to help Ole Miss, right? These two teams going 15 innings." I guess so, a little bit, but I mean, they still have Tyler Alexander. It's a really good left-hander who hasn't thrown yet. They can bring him back. I like him better than Sam Smith in that matchup. They haven't used Jordan Kipper. They haven't really used Alex Young. They got a lot of arms who haven't even thrown. I think TCU is still sitting in pretty good shape here, and if they win that game, then you bring back Morrison on Friday, and hey, they got a shot here. But I think I do like TCU in that game tomorrow. Ole Miss certainly the more offensive team for whatever that's worth, but I give TCU even after that 15-inning game, I give TCU a significant edge on the mound.
Yeah, they did. And that's Ole Miss is the team that is. It feels like least suited for the park the way it's playing because they really, they do need to hammer some balls, and they don't have. To me, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't quite have the athleticism that Mississippi State had last year defensively. That allowed Mississippi State, even though they were a power-oriented team too. It feels like Ole Miss not quite as athletic defensively as Mississippi State was. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, especially in the outfield. With Bousfield and Braxton Lee and Jameson and or Woodman, whoever they put in right field. That's a ton of speed in the outfield. Those guys can cover some serious ground, probably better than any other team in this World Series field. And I think Robinson at short is athletic. Austin Anderson plays a good third base. I think it's actually
two guys. It's really just Allen and Orvis who are the kind of the
right. Those are the guys that are kind of. Exactly. Those are the cloggers a little bit, but Allen has done a good job behind the plate too. I mean, it's and Orvis has been surprisingly spry over there. I thought he's made some nice plays at first base. I think they're good defensively. They're not elite defensively, but I do love the athleticism in the outfield.
Well, Virginia is the team that's in charge of the side of the bracket, Aaron. Are we looking at V versus V? Are we looking at Vanderbilt versus Virginia? Is that do you see those teams? Feels like TCU is the most likely team to upset that apple cart.
That's how I feel, but I do think it's Virginia versus Vanderbilt. That was my pre-series pick, and for a change, I actually have a chance to get that right. So that's nice. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to go on another little aside here.
Make it so.
The TCU Woobirds need to get a life. Those people need to get a life because they know they're annoying us. They relish it. I mean, really, that's what you want? You want to turn all the neutral people against your team? I hate to say it. I want TCU to go home, so I don't have to listen to those people anymore. Enough is enough, and I love that program. I love that coaching staff. I don't want to watch them anymore. I can't listen to those people anymore. Go away.
Aaron, I think you took my rant of the day crown away from me today. That's outstanding. What is the origin of that? It is annoying on TV. I cannot imagine what it is in person.
It's the worst. I think it started during that 22-inning game. I don't know. Maybe they're just loopy and started wooing, and they thought it was great. Ha ha ha. We're annoying. Look at us. It's like the kid in the back seat going, trying to annoy his parents with the most annoying sound he can come up with. Stop that crap.
I'm going to tell you, as a parent, that doesn't work. But I'm going to give you a great story that I'm going to tell that this is the equivalent of what you're saying. My sister, I have two older sisters, but the younger of the two, my sister Cleo, was making this. It's a great Manuel family story where she was making some spitting sound. I can't approximate what she made, but she kept doing it in the back seat. And my mom, this is the 70s, my mom pulled over to the side of the road and just screamed in Greek, "Viexo!" That means get out. And she put my sister out on the side of the road in Fayetteville, freaking North Carolina.
Oh my goodness.
In the 1970s. And she drove off. She left my sister. She just said, "Peace out." What the heck was that? I don't know what's happening there. Sorry about that. But, yeah, just crazy that she just put her out of the car. And my other sister forced her to go back and pick her up. So that does happen to parents, where you can get that annoyed. And at some point, someone in that ballpark needs to go out and tell the TCU fans to get out. Via Exo.
Yeah.
You're gonna make that sound? Via Exo. Get out.
Somebody needs to drop them off on Bragg Boulevard in the middle of the night in Fayetteville and see if they can find their way home.
Lucky for my sister, this was on Tawny Sky Drive in the nice part of town. All right. So a little Fayetteville geography lesson there from Aaron Fitt and John Manuel. A random commercial from my other screen, and that's a great way to end a podcast. A Google Hangout, one of our longest hangouts ever, Aaron. I'll check it in here at 30 minutes, but two good rants out of you, a great story about my mom from me. So the Via Exo Hangout, and I have to remind people that it was brought to you by the good folks at DeMarini, who are very proud to sponsor this particular hangout. Visit DeMarini.com to see the 2014 lineup of DeMarini BB Core bats, including the CF6 with D-Fusion handle technology. Visit DeMarini.com. Aaron, we didn't pick today's game. Oh, wait, no, we did pick. We all picked Texas, did we not?
We did.
We did all pick Texas. All right. So, and am I 8-0 in the picks? Is that correct?
I thought we weren't supposed to talk about it. You got a perfect thing going here. I don't want to jinx anything, but since you brought it up, yeah, this is a once in a lifetime run here. I hope you can keep it up.
So I'm 8-0. You're 7-1. Jimmer 6-2. Is that it?
Yeah, that's right. And well, I don't know what Jimmer is. I'll have to look at the records. I've missed 2. I know that much. I think I'm 6-2. I think Jimmer might be 4-4. But hey, I will say this. The only kind of records we're seeing in the College World Series are Kevin Crone setting the putouts record. I think John Manuel's 8-0 is a little bit more sexy right now. So good luck with that.
What's the and we didn't even talk about the attendance is down. The TV ratings, it sounds like, have been down for the postseason. I hope that things get better. I hope that the rest of the series is more entertaining. I don't like talking about the negative part of it anymore, but I do love talking college baseball with you, Aaron Fitt. I love it. So thank you for indulging me this afternoon.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure.
And thanks to all of you who watched here at BaseballAmerica.com or our YouTube page, youtube.com/BaseballAmerica. For Aaron Fitt, I'm John Manuel. We'll see you on the next Baseball America Google Hangout. Peace out.